Good evening, everyone. Our Astro Quest for tonight is to discover how astrology can be used in finding one's life purpose. Good evening, everyone. This is the 87th episode of TalaToks about journalists. No? So welcome, everyone.
Hello, welcome. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of TalaToks, where we talk about astrology beyond memes.
Ha.
Marco?
Libra. Hi, Marco.
Hi, good evening, good evening. Good evening po sa lahat po na nakikinig. Good evening po.
Good evening po.
Good
Yes,
evening.
and we have Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hello,
Hi, Chris.
Chris.
Hello po. Mysterious aura muna ako kasi gusto ko makapag-camera.
Sige, the title of our episode tonight is Libra Journalist, no, for Truth and Justice. No? So, yun, ang question is bakit, no? And parang kwanto, no? Coincidental ata, no, na they share similar planetary configurations that we are going to look at tonight. Let me check muna with Marco. No? Marco, Mercury in Virgo din ba si Mike Enriquez?
Actually, I have a chart here. Ang
Mercury lang
kanyang
muna.
Mercury ay nasa Virgo,
Okay, correct. So,
23 degrees.
okay, I've checked Maria Reza's planets, no, and Mercury in Virgo din. Confirm natin kay Althea, no? Mercury in Virgo din ba si Atom?
Ay, hindi po pala. Si Atom Aurelia already has Mercury in Libra, although he
Okay,
has
so Libra.
very dignified planets.
Sige, so well, basically the reason why we emphasize this, actually these two signs, Libra and Virgo, is because Libra is the planet associated with justice, and Virgo is the planet, Mercury, which is the ruler of Virgo, is associated with finding truth, no? And we think that these two impulses, no, or let's say virtues, no, are I think what is needed in this period, because we are now in the so-called era or period of air, or specifically the period of Aquarius. No? Aquarius is connected with knowledge, information. So ito na yon, no? Itong the so-called new economy, no, is actually referring to this change in sort of atmosphere, the worldviews, and events symbolized by Aquarius and air. But there are also dangers, and we have seen it also in the last few years. And up to now, there is this battle between truth, misinformation, disinformation, and the rest. And for that reason, we think that journalists have a special role to play. Ayun. So siguro let's start with discussing Libra and Virgo as zodiac archetypes. Anyone?
Anyone? Siguro I'll take Virgo because of
Sige.
my rising sign. So, as an archetype, Virgo is of course about parang purity, the perfection, parang ano siya. Are we talking about Virgo or Mercury? Virgo as an archetype?
Virgo and Mercury, okay lang.
Okay. So parang ano yan, partner sila. They are Mercury is a ruler of Virgo and Virgo is a sign of the Virgin. So it's going to symbolize purity, perfection, parang making sure that things are as they should be. May mga ganyang component. And of course, Virgo is also about analysis. It's a sign associated to the harvest. So yung mga crops tinitingnan ng farmers, do we remove this? Do we retain this crop? Pag may mga rotten na crops na nalagay for retaining, nasisira yung buong kaban. So Virgos are very analytical. They have to make sure na talagang everything is as it should. It's all about separating the wheat from the chaff. May mga ganong component. So very analytical ang Virgo, and it's something that can really help yung mga journalistic causes. They're good with analyzing data. And also it's ruled by Mercury, where Mercury is also exalted here. So there is a tendency for Mercury in Virgo to be very sharp, very detail oriented, very good for analysis also.
Yes. Yeah. Anyone else who wants to add something?
So Virgo, also my rising sign, ka Virgo.
Present.
Very, very thorough, I guess, with trying to sort out facts. Very conscientious in the way they move about. Maybe storing information and looking through information. Very service oriented, I think, as a sign. In a way, I think humble. They don't want to really show out their personality too much. They're very down to earth as well. And I think because they're mutable signs, they can't sit still as well. They have to move about, and they're maybe curious in their own way with Gemini as their midheaven. Okay. And the ruler Mercury. Yan po.
Right. Ang ganda siguro ng humble, I just wanted to add to that because a lot of people will say Virgos can be quite humble. Yung parang hindi sila yung gusto na nakabida in general. It's a correction to too much Leo, for example. So Leo wants the sun to be in front of it. So ang tendency ng Virgos parang servant, wherein sobrang perfect ng bahay pero hindi naman nakabida yung mga naglilinis ng bahay. So pag may mga guests na dumadating, they go back to the quarters, but the meticulousness of the perfect position of the house, it's because of the diligence of the Virgo placements in general. So yung house staff yung nagwo-work pero behind the scenes. Para may ganun.
The keywords na that I'm highlighting is ito nga paglilinis, no, as Luan emphasized, and then gathering information, as Althea also noted, siguro we can also relate this with writers in general, no, although journalists, no, is also a career, no, associated with Mercury, but practically, no, it's also the goal, no, or of writers in general, no. So Chris here is a writer. Would you agree to that, Chris?
Yes, sir. Yung lalo na pagka sa mga journalist, kailangan talaga walang fake news. Kailangan lahat ng detalles, very, very accurate. And doon naman sa tatlong featured na journalists ngayon, meron naman silang reputation din na gano'n. Lahat ay yung kumbaga matuwid and mataas yung tingin sa kanila ng peers din po nila.
So can we say nga na ang primary goal, no, ng mga, let's say, Mercury in general, no, is to gather information, to present facts, and maybe as journalists and writers, no, to present synthesis, no, of this, no, what they have gathered, no, and present it siguro in a more, or that's the role of the writer pala, no, Chris, yung
Yes.
presenting a new version of reality, for example, or interpretation of all of these facts. Anong difference ng writer tsaka ng journalist?
Yung writers are more of umbrella siya na maraming klase ng writer. Pwede kang maging creative. Pero yung journalist sir talaga, meron talagang code na sinusundan. At naka-focus talaga sa facts talaga sila.
Okay. Okay, thank you for clarifying. In terms of astrology, pag sinabi kasing creative writer, and then titingnan natin yung Mercury nila, Mercury would more or less be in a water sign. Is that right? no? So mga poets, no, for example, no, they feel emotions and express, choose the right words, to express these emotions. So that's a function of Mercury in a water sign.
Mhm. I would agree.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very
What-
Pero
emotion-based, ano? Although meron din naman mga kunyari, mga Mercury in Libra, parang ang ganda rin nila, pero yung structure, yung sukat ng syllables, yung sound, okay din sa ganun. Pero more feeling nga pag water.
mm-mm.
Imagination.
Yes, imagination is the key word, no? Which is different, no, from what a journalist must present, no? So
Yes.
sa journalism parang kailangan ng very specific, no, data gathering based on facts, tapos you have to be able to present kung saan ang galing yan. Yan, parang may mga parameters, no, na very
Yes.
something tangible, ano?
Yes, sir. Tsaka, hindi sila more of imagination, more of probing talaga sila.
Okay,
Pinaprobe nila
probing.
yung binabasa nila.
I
Okay.
guess with Mercury and Libra, I would imagine as a water sign that since they're the balancing scales, they look at both sides all the time, or they have maybe something that contradicts them from outside that they have to coincide and try to relate to different things that they act that happens maybe in their process in terms of Mercury and Libra. Yun. Yun po.
In our examples or the journalists that we will be discussing tonight, so dalawa yung Mercury in Virgo and yung isa is Mercury in Libra,
Libra.
no? So this is more of yung nga, no, to just to differentiate, no, as we mentioned nga, iba yung creative writer, ibang mental, no, ability yung ginagamit nila sa creative writing, making stories, novels, no, etc., short stories. Pero pagka journalists, no, kailangan based on reality, and this is what Mercury in Virgo could indicate, no. And then as Althea mentioned, yung balancing, no, of information, is a very air element, no. You gather information, you balance, you compare, kasama dyan yung comparing, no, the information, and then and in that process nalalaman mo yung let's say relationship, no, ng one idea to another, and then you can see, no, kung tama ba yung pinanggalingan yan, tama ba yung logic, no. So these more of an air, no, function, no. So again, in contrast to creative writers na medyo parang you can create, no, your own world, no, if you are a creative writer. Gawa ka ng character, gawa ka ng scenario, and then may as they say, no, pagka nandiyan, nakakreate ka na ng character, the character has a life of its own, no? Parang ganun. Pero sa journalism, kailangan based on reality, no? Which is a very earth function naman, earthy function.
May I give an example po, sir, for Mercury in Cancer? I guess aside from me, there's Carl Jung. He's a psychologist, so he has the ability to go through different stories and myths. Like that was his field, and in psychology, you had to immerse yourself in maybe the experience of the other. And so, as a receptive Mercury, as a water sign Mercury, maybe he was receptive and maybe also a scientist, but he also went about facts in maybe different ways. So, and I just wanted to present maybe a concrete example of a water Mercury. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Sige, so let's go na to the chart or the planetary placements and biography, of one of our journalists, no, esteemed journalist who recently passed away. May he rest in peace. Si Mike Enriquez. And we have Chris Santos and Marco, no, Ignacio, who will discuss the chart and life of Mike Enriquez, no. So mauna na si Chris.
Exciting.
Doon sa babasahin ko, meron lang ako idadagdag na napanood ko din kasi sa interview ni Mike Enriquez. So, kilala natin si Mike Enriquez as yung face of investigador, so matagal na rin siyang journalist. He had a passion for journalism at a very young age. And he also started his broadcasting career as a staff announcer in 1969. Pero yung hindi siguro alam ng iba ay nag-aral din siya sa Lasal. Parang alam ko magpapare siya, parang gano'n. Gusto niyang magpare and but for some reason hindi siya napunta sa pagpapare, napunta siya sa broadcasting. Bago din siya naging yung kilala natin na broadcaster na talaga sa news. Nagtrabaho din siya during the 70s as a DJ sa isang company din. So usong-uso kasi noon yung mga 1970s yung mga nagpe-play din ng music. So kinuha siya doon, maganda daw kasi yung boses niya, yung diction niya. Then also, that's also where he met his wife, si Baby. Then after niya magtrabaho as a DJ, kinuha siya nagtrabaho siya sa isang Freedom Broadcasting Network and Radio Mindanao Network. And then parang he rose to the status of vice president and as board member. Then nagtuloy-tuloy yun hanggang sa nakuha na rin siya ng GMA Network. Isa sa mga gusto kong aspects ng interviews niya is when he said na hindi talaga siya pang TV, pang radyo kasi talaga siya. And during that time, ang mga kinukuha doon na journalists, newscasters, yung mga anchors, magaganda daw, mga gwapo daw. So he admitted it in one of his interviews na alam niyang hindi siya pang television. Pero I remember it was sino sa KMJS, si Jessica Soho. Si Jessica Soho was she pitched for Mike to be part of this parang pagko-cover nila ng elections. So yun, doon siya na-discover na magaling siya, tapos fast talker siya, gusto daw ng GMA na mabilis magsalita, straight. Yun, so kinuha siya. Despite at the time, iba yung standards nila ng news anchor. Then yun, nagtuloy-tuloy na, and then he became the president of GMA's regional and radio subsidiary, yung RGMA network. And then he also became station manager of Super Radio, DZW. So yun, and then yun na, I think ang tagal-tagal na niya sa GMA, I think since 1995. Tapos nagkaroon na nga siya ng naging part na siya ng investigador, then 24 oras, saksi, hanggang sa, well, recently, when he died. Yun po yung very, very short bio ni Mike Enriquez.
Thank
Turning
you,
you over
Chris.
to Sir Marco for
Okay.
the short.
Good evening again. So if kung pwede po siguro i-share screen ko po yung yung natal chart niya. Okay, very quick lang to. So yung pong ating sun niya and Saturn in the 5 degrees in the sign of Libra. This would describe his generic aura or generic personality na very serious, and yet diyan kung pwedeng sabihin na naging yung the search for truth, being a journalist diyan nag-radiate. Kasi we all know that that Libra nahandyan yung planet ng Saturn naka-exalted. So yung sense of fairness niya talagang nandun sa yung generic personality niya. And then nasabi kanina ni Ma'am Chris yung tinatawag na what's called this, the North Node, na gusto nga daw niya magpare. So nag-aagaw yung niya, yung may opposite ng moon. So I'm not sure kung anong taon yun. So siguro baka na nag-transit. So instead na going to his pagpapare, yung priesthood, kasi di ba ang Pisces is it is a Christian Christian symbol, often associated to Christianity, yung Pisces.
Pisces.
So yes. So I'm not sure kung anong year yon. So dito na highlight yung yung pagpapari niya. But then given that the majority of his planets are in Virgo actually and in Libra as well as in Leo, so mas nanaig yung niya, yung pagiging journalist niya, yung number one, pagiging serious niya sa Saturn. Tapos number two, yung how does he feel? Yung moon niya ay nasa Virgo. So medyo not unlike the other moons. So siya, yung how does he feel? Medyo mental din. And of course, nandyan yung yung Mercury niya, how he thinks. So, may laser sharp, very sharp ang kanyang ang way of thinking. And as well as isama na natin tong yung we have 3 planets in Virgo actually. Yung kanyang yung Venus ay nasa Virgo, right? Okay, so pati sa aesthetics. So, we can say that he dresses well. And etong Mars niya na nasa Leo, actually hinahanapan ko kasi I somehow find Sir Mike Enriquez meron siyang contrast na 'di ba, very serious and then sometimes he can be very funny. So dito ko ito yung Mars niya. Dito nanggagaling yung energy niya kasi 'di ba we all know that Leos are they want to be the star of the show. They make fun, they crack jokes, 'di ba? Yun po yung mga lagi natin na-associate to Leo. And then pointing out is the Pluto. Yung Pluto niya kasi dito will also constitute despite 6 degrees naman yung depression niya kay Mars. I think it still helps the Mars. Kasi 'di ba pagka whenever Pluto is in conjunction or maybe in aspect to other planets na nagma-magnify yung ng planets. Let's just say kung for example kung if a person has Sun and then nag-trine sa Pluto, so magma-magnify yung yung Sun niya. So dagdag power 'yon. And then we have yung Uranus niya dito sa Cancer. Not much pero siguro Uranus kasi is sa technology. So ano bang niya pwede nating Cancer is associated with the home. Ayun. And then ayun, hindi ko masyadong Sir Heresti medyo tulungan mo lang ako ng kaunti dito sa Uranus. But then I could say something else for the last time sa Jupiter niya. Aspect.
You can focus on the inner planets.
Inner planets na lang po so last time sa kahuli-hulihan ay ang planeta ng Jupiter. Okay. Yeah, maganda yung aspect niya with with what you call this, with Mars. I think despite this is a square, so it really helps the the rapport of the energy. Kasi despite this is a square, yung power, yung pagiging workaholic niya siguro sa sa work. And then and besides it's in Aries, and then the Mars is in Leo, which of course is naka-trine ng ang relationship nila. So it's very fiery. So in general, sir, just to recap, the inner planets, most of the inner planets are in Virgo, in Libra, and we have 2 planets in Leo. So we could say he has a stellium in Virgo kasi 3, as well as in Libra. Now, going back, ano po ang niya sa pinag-uusapan natin today? Yung pagiging journalist po kasi, we will again point out that Ang pagiging journalist po kasi it focuses on probing facts, getting facts, and then organizing the facts, 'di ba? Virgo quality 'yon. And then at the same time, dahil meron siyang Libra planets, 'di ba sa journalism dapat fair ka eh. Dapat fair, merong high level sense of discipline sa work. So, if someone has these kinds of planets over here, like Mike Enriquez, talagang nararapat siya na doon sa trabaho niya bilang isang journalist. And of course, we all know, rest in peace po kay Sir Mike, na he did his job very well. Ayun na lang po. Thank you.
Who wants to add or to comment? Si Chris, nandito po ba si Chris?
Yes po.
Ikaw muna, Chris. Ano madadagdag mo?
If there's anything I could comment on the personality also of of the Mike being Virgo, papacheck na lang sir kung tama din yung interpretation mo. Kasi ang Virgo sir, earth sign siya, di ba? Base dun sa mga nagbigay ng testimony or tribute kay Mike Enriquez when he died, he really had this, mataas pa yung work ethic niya na parang pwede siya magpahinga but he doesn't take a rest. Instead, trabaho talaga siya. And yet, he's a very humble person. I've seen also, mga posts about him na sinasabi, kahit na hindi sila sikat or mga intern lang sila, pag nakikita nila si Mike Enriquez, is very, very humble person. And I think he also is the type of journalist na even if diretso siya, straight talker and honest din siya sa mga ginagawa niya. He never also forgets to parang revisit his roots. Bumabalik siya dun kung saan siya nagsimula. He always does that in his interviews. Lagi siyang may thank you sa ganito. Kasi dito siya nagsimula. So yun, I think it's one of the
Can you elaborate on that roots? Ano ba yung roots niya?
Sir, yung halimbawa, kung nagsimula siya dun sa, yung nga sa Lasal, yung magpapare, yung hindi niya sir nakakalimutan yung mga ganun. Tapos yung kasi nagbanggit si Sir CD ng Christian, kasi sa Pisces.
Si Marco.
Ay, si Marco pala. Kasi he is an altar boy. He was an altar boy. Kaya doon niya nga naisip magpare. So, nakita ko sa isang article, parang member pa rin siya eh. Up to the time he died, member pa rin yata siya nung, nakalimutan ko na kung Knights of Columbus ba ganyan. Basta sir, doon sa village nila, lagi siyang kasali kung may mga parada. Constant siyang presence sa ganon. So, nakikisali siya sa Nazareno, ganyan. So, kahit na yung big name na siya, so masali pa rin siya sa mga ganong klase ng mga parade, events, kasi yun yung pinagsimulan niya rin talaga, lalo na yung sa faith niya. So, yun sir yung alam ko. Parang humble siya in a way na hindi niya nakakalimutan na doon talaga siya nag-start. Yun yung start din ng faith niya. Even before he became a journalist.
Okay, thank you. And that's basically because of the Virgo influence, as mentioned earlier. May sort of very humble, no? Yung may lots of Virgo placements, no? Such as Mike Enriquez ka, no? And of course, the same thing can be said then with the Saturn influence, no? Although, especially with this, no? Dignified Saturn. Medyo kakaiba yung combination nito, no? Kasi basically yung energy ng Sun is opposite, no, do sa energy ng Saturn. Pero in this case, no, it's combined, no. So he is a person na I think, no, he can relate to from the lowest to the highest, or from the highest to the lowest, no, because that's a combination of Saturn, which Saturn is more associated, no, with the let's say the laborers, the lower sectors of society, while the sun is associated with the VIPs, no? Kaya maybe this is partly the reason, no, ng kanyang humility, no? Because in his chart, Saturn and the sun are exactly together, no? In the same degree, no, of Libra. And in this case, it's Saturn that wins. No?
Tsaka pala no, ito medyo malayo lang, but I just wanted to notice lang na the Mars kasi is being squared by Pluto the last couple of years.
Sandali wala akong mic kanina, pero I was about to say nga kanina kay Marco, it's not really a square.
Di ba,
Which
sir?
one?
It's not a square. It's more of a it's still within orb of a trine.
Okay, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Nakaread lang
Diba?
kasi doon sa ano ko, doon sa chart ko.
26 minus 9, 15 is still within orb of a trine. And since Mars is the ruler of Aries, no, so there's a reception, no, in this case, no, so that makes his Jupiter powerful, no, or his Mars also powerful. So dalawa yung parang magnification itong Mars energy, which with Pluto, it's the investigador, no, it's the investigating process of digging into the facts, no, na-empower siya itong Pluto, no. Ngayon itong Jupiter, no, parang more on support, no. Nagkaroon siya ng mga maybe contacts sa military, contacts sa Leo is the VIPs, no. So may because it's a trine, may smooth flow of information in that case.
Sir, can I ask, would you say that because Pluto is in the sign of the sun, which the sun illuminates on things, maybe that's also an influence? Maybe he'd like shedding light on certain specific difficult experiences, with Pluto being an archetype that goes towards difficulty, maybe. Or
Yeah, you can say that also, no. Pero yung investigator mismo, no, I think that's coming from this conjunction of Pluto and Mars, no, kasi nakilala siya diyan sa even yung ngayon, di ba? Pag narinig mo yung investigador, it's Mike Enriquez.
Yeah,
Okay,
his voice is so unmistakable. Yes.
Okay. Another thing mentioned earlier, no, yung nga pagpapare, ano. So I think this is important, no, katulad ng nabanggit natin sa ating astro quest, ano, kasi we can use astrology to find out kung ano ba talaga yung life path, no, ng isang tao, no. So since na-open nga ni Chris, no, yung topic, ano, he was supposed to be or he wanted to be, no, a priest, no. Pero hindi siya naging priest, no, although he was religious throughout his life. Pero nag-dominate yung other interests, no, or other talents, no, 'di ba sa parable of the talents, no, parang we were given, ano, sort of talent, no, ano ba yung ginamit mo, no. So in this case, with regards to talents or abilities, no, we look at the planets nga, ano, and one of our clues, of course there are other ways of finding out, no, kung ano ba talaga yung fate ng isang tao, kung ano ba talaga yung the best career for you. One of the easiest way of finding that out is by looking at the dignified planets, no. So in this case nga, Mercury and Saturn, ano, are his dignified planets, no. So ngayon, okay, for example, na-figure out mo na kung ano, no, it's Mercury, no. Tapos normally yung planet na yan may correspondence sa let's say sa itsura, sa talents nga, no. So in this case, voice, no, kasi Mercury is communications. It follows that let's a communicator, so in this case a newscaster or a DJ daw, no, nagsimula siya as a DJ, may magandang voice, no, di ba? So it follows, no. So if you after identifying the planet, no, and then you look, no, kung ano nga yung mga talents niya, no, may correspondence siya, may correspondence, no. And then to deepen it further, we look at the purpose nga of this planet, no? So Mercury is the planet, no, considered as the messenger of the gods, no? So in that case, no, somebody who will teach, who will communicate, no, who will propagate, no, or in this case as journalists, no, who wants to find out, no, the truth, no, or to present, no, the truth, no, to the people, no, in general. Although my inner or religious let's say impulses, no, mas malakas yung itong Mercury, no, in Virgo. No? As we've discussed before, Mercury in Virgo is exalted, no? And then and in the sign that it rules, no? And the same thing can be said of Saturn in Libra, no? So my emphasis then on Libra, which is which we associate, no, with justice, no, and the law in general. Yeah, so we can say, no, that he was fated not to be a journalist, a TV newscaster or commentator, no, and the likes, no, because his life purpose has something to do with Mercury. Okay?
Okay, agree.
Sige. Sige, let's move on to the other journalist, no? Si Maria Ressa. Sige, paki-flash na lang yung
Just
So yeah, Maria Ressa is the co-founder of Rappler in 2011. He worked for ABS-CBN and CNN, ano, from I think from the 80s. Yung una niya when she went back to the Philippines around the EDSA revolution, no, she worked for CNN. And in the 90s, no, she worked for ABS-CBN, heading the news division of ABS-CBN. And then in 2011, she co-founded the Rappler, no, the online news agency. So again, we see the same planets, no, highlighted, no. Virgo, no. Virgo is sorry, no? Mercury is in Virgo, no. So same thing, no. As we mentioned earlier, Mercury in Virgo is associated with gathering facts, no, putting logic system, no, in the presentation of this information, no. Actually, meron siyang magandang quote, no, and I will read, no. Ang sabi nga niya, without facts, you can't have truth, no, and without truth, you cannot have trust, no, and without these two, we cannot have a shared reality, no, parang gano'n, no. Yan. So, this is, I would say that these words, no, are coming from, no, that Mercury in Virgo placement, no, prioritizing parang her life, no, or maybe journalists in general, pero we can see this very prominently in the life of Maria Ressa, na she was really a fighter, no, for truth, no, especially, no, especially during her well, the Rappler days, no, or in the recent years, they literally fought, no, for staying true, no, to their goals, no, for doing what is right, no, despite the odds or sort of bully, no. Kaya she wrote the title of her autobiography is actually How to Stand Up, no, to a dictator, no, because there were really attempts, no, to suppress information and also to to sort of they were literally bullied, no, when the government uh, attacked them, no, by suing them, no, or by
Yes.
sa
Yung cyber libel crime.
cyber libel, no. Of course, it was denied daw, no, na hindi naman directly, no, from the government yan, pero of course there are speculations then it can only be parang may blessing, ano, of course, no, ng former president, no? Tapos may mga BIR cases which recently na they were the findings nga of the courts na they did not violate any law, no, tipong ganun, no? So there were instances, no, that there was a battle, no, real battle, no, even for her safety, for the existence of Raptor itself, no. So parang yung life niya, no, is how to become mercurial, no? How to be the best of Mercury. Yon. So she made some significant or important choices in her life that made her, no, for example, no, the journalist, no, one of the top journalists, no, in the world, and because of that, she won the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize. No? Sige, that's Mercury in Virgo. No? Would any one of you want to add something?
Right. Same thing with Mike Enriquez's chart, meron rin kasi siyang Pluto incorporated dun sa placements niya. So the last time it was Mars and then Pluto conjunct. So that's fighting for things that parang fighting to put things that are hidden out in the open. Parang may ganong component, nag-iimbestiga. In this case, Mercury is conjunct Pluto, so there is a tendency to really, really want to uncover things that are hidden also. And then may Mars din that wants to push for it. So meron din Neptune here, so idealisms and wanting to really push for something quite ideal. We can see here in her chart. Pero rin din silang Jupiter in Aries, so may element of the warrior also configured sa personal planet. So very similar configurations. Not the same, but may echoes of the same placements here. Uh-oh.
Kung i-compare nga natin, ano, as Luan mentioned, may element ng Mars sila pareho. No? So Mars is about fighting, no, for something that you believe in. In Maria's case, no, Mars is very strong, no, in Scorpio, no, so talagang fearless, no. Actually nga yung career niya, no, she covered lots of several, no, revolutions, change of regime, no, in different countries, no, in Asia, no. From her book, no, it was mentioned that yung amok, no, madaming mga, what do you call that, no, mga protest movements. Actually, it's not protest, no, parang tribal wars sa Indonesia in the 90s, no, after the fall of Suharto, no, parang she was there. She faced all of these dangers, no, yung mga beheading. Naglalaban yung different tribes, no, sa Indonesia, and then there were beheadings, no, and she saw that, no, in close proximity, no, and of course yung fall nga, no, ng different governments, no, in the world, no. Ayun. So it takes courage, no, to be able to do that or to accept, no, her task, no, to be in that place, no. Tipong ganun, no. So yeah, it takes guts, courage, and of course, no, maybe yung life purpose then it's very important na in this case. Kasi if you don't think it's important, no, you wouldn't take the risk.
Right. Right. May courage involved. And itong particular conjunction na to Mercury and Pluto, this is somebody who won't really let something go. Siguro pag may naramdaman siya na may lead or may feeling na she should want to investigate a little bit more. Because Pluto can also be obsessions and fixation. So pag meron talaga siyang gustong ma-uncover, talagang hindi niya titigilan, that sort of thing. There is a tendency to be fixated with ideas, and in her case, talagang lumabas yung marami siyang mga naipalabas throughout the span of her career. So
Dalawa yun actually, no. Kung isama natin yung technology, no, which is Uranus, no, Pluto, Uranus, and Mercury conjunction, it's still yung in Virgo, no. So again, Virgo, gathering of information, seeing logic systems, no, etc. No, Pluto is sort of underground, no. And then Uranus is about technology, no. So yung dalawang major works niya actually involves all of this, no. So number one, yung she was tracking, no, yung the rise of mga terrorist groups, no, from her experience dito sa Indonesia, no, noong 1990s. So meron siyang tinatawag na emergent behavior, no, na wherein groups of people were influenced, no, by an ideology or a very powerful leader, no, tipong ganun. And then through that and then she was able to track this, no, yung movements, no, ng mga, let's say, ideas, no, etc., no, through the internet, no. So napansin niya yung mga kung paano ginagamit ng mga let's say terrorists, no, for example, no, yung internet, no, on how to spread, no, their ideologies, no. So nakita niya yung pag-rise no ng mga groups na to. And actually, she was able to trace na actually itong mga groups na to nagsimula, some of them nagsimula pa sa Pilipinas, no, or they existed, no, they trained or they implemented, no, their tactics, no, initially dito sa Philippines, no. That's one, ano, yung mga terroristic activities, no, that's still within the Pluto function of discovering something hidden, no, or itong underground, no, or even underworld, no, activities, no, figuratively speaking, no. And the second one is yung the rise of the yung mga political operations, no, sa Facebook, no, na nag-dominate, no, nung let's say 2016, ano, especially nung elections, ano. These are recorded, no, may mga pinresent din silang data on this, no. So siya yung naka-discover, no, nitong kung paano nag-grow, no. Actually sabi niya nga, no, yung may isang example siya na there is this prior to 2016, no, there were some people, no, actually even teenagers pa nga ito, no, na yung paggawa ng mga fake accounts, no. So nagsimula to prior to the election, no? Tapos nung election ng 2016, no, nakita niya because because yung Rappler kasi may parang may data gathering, no, system, no. So nakita nila kung sino nag-share ng mga information nila, ng mga articles, no, at nakita nila na merong network, no, of disinformation networks nga, no, and apparently nagsimula yan nga, no, sa mga parang mga teenagers na yung mga idols, no, parang mga group, no, yung mga parang paglalaban ng mga groups, no, something like that, no? Tapos nagamit, no, ng mga political operatives, no, ng 2016, ano. And yeah, no, so anyway, yeah, she studied, no, how these movements grew, no, and change the behavior of the voters, no, for example, no. So part of her work niya is that, no, basically to this let's say life purpose, no, because she believes, no, as I mentioned kanina, no, she believes by this principle nga, no, na truth is very important, no, to build trust, no. So that's why we must gather facts and information, no? So that is what she believed, no, what she worked on, and maybe, maybe that's also the reason why she was recognized, no, by the Nobel Prize, no, body.
And to add to that also, very important is of course her Rappler legacy, which is Uranian also internet. Kumbaga, hindi pa uso nun yung publications online or yung mga kanyang site. So it was just the mainstream media, and then all of a sudden it emerged, and from just being in the Facebook realm, they had their own site, and then now it's like a full-blown operation na talaga na very legitimized. So Uranus, Neptune din siguro we can Uranus, Mercury also pwede rin natin i-associate dun, I think.
Oo. Parang 1 year after Rappler was launched, no, parang naging number 3 sila. From the top 2, no, ABS 7, and then yeah, yung Rappler.
Parang innovative forms of sharing information, and then yung journalism nila. So hindi mo na kailangan ng TV, lahat na sa cellphone lang naman. So it's able to be a pioneer in that area.
Okay, and of course pala, no, her Saturn is in Aquarius, no, which says the same thing, no. Itong na-highlight din itong technology, gathering of information through the gadgets, no. Sila yung nagpasimula, no, nung ganong klaseng reporting, no. Pati yung transmission, I think na nag-invento pa sila ng van, no, wherein they can parang send, no, the signals, no, so that makakapag-broadcast sila, no, live, no. So very innovative.
Right. And also siguro maganda lang din i-highlight a bit because she just had her Saturn return also.
I was gonna
Mm.
say also, yeah, and Saturn
Ah,
Square because she has Libra placements. The cyber libel case that was
ah,
sinampa against her was around 2019 when Saturn was in Capricorn
Capricorn.
pa. So that would be squaring her Sun sign, her Venus sign, and then eventually, I guess when she was able to post bail, it was during her Saturn return in some way. Yun nga.
Oo. Tsaka parang ano rin eh, yung Saturn returns is a lot of people get a lot of people get scared about it, but oftentimes it's like if you do due diligence, if you do what you need to do, you actually get delayed gratification or even rewards. So if you put the hard work in front of you, nagkakaroon ng accolade somehow if you did it right. But then sometimes kung talagang medyo naging tamad or hindi naging maayos yung pag the way that you live your life, then Saturn returns can be quite difficult. So in this case, around the time she had her return, it was like accumulation of all the things that she has done, and then she was able to be recognized internationally pa. So, pero maraming hardships before before
Oh,
umabot yun. Right?
it's so striking. Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
Sige. I-mention ko lang Rappler was very open. Still is pala. It's very open to astrology. No? I was the first one to write for Rappler on astrology. No? Dito ko na propagate yung paggawa ng astrometeorology in I think 2012 or 2013. Yan. And then of course other parang up to now merong astrologer na working with them no. Ngayon ata sa podcast no. Pero we have two members of Astrology Friends Philippines who also wrote for Rappler. Si Monica Lopez tsaka si Gigi, Astro by Gigi.
Gigi,
Okay.
right.
And one of the reasons siguro was that she believes in astrology, no? I don't know exactly, pero in her autobiography, no, nakalagay doon na she mentioned yung zodiac signs ng founders ng Rappler, no? Dalawang Leo, dalawang Libra.
Wow.
And one more, no? Meron siyang isang play, no? When she was still in parang right after graduation ata, no? Basta when she was still young, no? She wrote a play, no? The title is Sagittarius.
Wow.
Yeah, so maybe that's one of the reasons why Rappler still supports astrologers. Okay.
She does have a Jupiterian moon, diba? Pisces.
Yun din.
Okay. Si Marco, may dadagdag ka, Marco, regarding moon in Pisces?
Sir, ano lang kasi question lang, when was yung nagkakaroon siya ng cyber libel case?
2017.
17 pa
2017,
kasi
18.
kasi I was about to ask how is her status right now kasi yung iba kasi nakikita ko sa ibang tao to when Saturn is closing the house yung moon niya, so affected yung niya yung rather yung emotional being niya. Yun, I was about to ask.
Okay, so there's two ways to approach that. Number one is I don't think she is very emotional. That's one, no?
Okay.
Because she's very rational, no?
Rational.
Because of this Virgo or Mercury highlight, no? And then of course yung Libra, no, which is an air sign. Yung pagka-Scorpio niya, it's more of a fighter, no? So it's not really emotional in a daily manner, no? Okay. Although Moon in Pisces can be sensitive, no? Pero I think na-overcome niya 'yon. Okay. So anyway, ang interpretation ko dito sa Moon in Pisces, no, that will be hit by Saturn in exactly next year ata, no? The moon kasi can also be the body. So I think
Sakit
this
ano?
is
Mm.
this is more of a health concern. So as early as now, you would suggest that she really takes care of the body, maybe have regular checkups, especially on the internal organs.
Agree.
Mhm.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
But of course, Marco, no, meron din syempreng emotional manifestation yan. Pero what I'm saying is, it's not going to be very devastating kasi she's a very rational, no, and very mental, no, and maybe the worst is over. Parang
Oo nga po.
2017, 2018 was the worst.
Baka ano lang din, pwede rin reminders of baka may magkasakit sa
Oo nga.
pamilya nila, yung gano'n. A mother
Oh.
figure that gets pwede mga gano'n din. So, yun yung mga usual advice pag tatamaan yung moon mo, yung take care of the body or the elders or the mother if she's still alive. Yung ganun. So,
Makes sense.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, may dadagdag lang ako with regards to, we don't know the time kasi nung nakausap ko siya sa launching nung book niya sa Baguio. Ang una ko nabagay sa kanya is about yung Libra opposite Aries.
Oh.
So na-trigger yung pagkakuha niya. Na-trigger yung Mars niya, no? So na-discuss namin was about, no? Yung, di ba, the former president is an Aries. So sabi ko siya nga is Libra. So that can explain the opposition, no? Between the two of them, no? No. So, yan, doon napunta yung discussion namin. Pero I asked for her time of birth, no? Hindi niya nabigay, pero sa tingin ko alam niya, no? Okay, so anyway, my guess is pinanganak siya it's a day chart. It's a day chart. Kaya Mars is negative, no, in her chart, no. Maybe, no, ito nga yung attacks, no, from somebody powerful kasi Mars, no, in Scorpio can be powerful enemies, no, in this case, no. Of course, that's the former president, no. And merong isang timing technique is called Firdaria, no.
Oh.
Yung tanong ni Marco, no, yung 2017. 2017, he was in a Mars period. No? So again, ano, Mars, no, kalaban, kaaway, and yung kaaway niya was ruled by Mars, no. So yon, tipong ganun, ano. And yeah, that's one, ano. Tapos yung using also that same timing technique, no, the period, no, wherein she won the Nobel Prize, it was in a long term or 10-year period Jupiter cycle, no?
Nice.
Okay, sige.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, let's move on to the next chart.
Sige.
So, Atom Aurelio, his birthday is October 19, 1982. So, he's 40 years old, and in a technique called perfections, that's the fifth house year. Just throwing it out there. But yeah, okay, ayan. There. So, on time, we don't have his birth time. So, I guess we will begin with his biography. At an early age, he studied in Ateneo, and in an interview, he said his parents noticed he was very shy and wouldn't really be interacting in classes, so they enrolled him in theater in his school, in his preschool, I think. And I guess during his childhood years, uh, there was production by Pro Productions, getting him as, I guess, a host, a kid host in Five and Up, which was the show, um, which catered to like preteens in broadcasting. And then after that, I think when he was 23, after he studied the sciences in Pasay, um, I think UP, after graduating from UP, he entered Studio 23 in this morning show called Breakfast. Um, I think that's a bit about his background in terms of his younger years, getting into like communication, broadcasting, and then I think in his college years, since he was taking sciences, it wasn't even really related now to his field. at the moment. I guess that's the Libra side. There are two sides to him. In a sense, he loved science when he was a kid, and so he was on that track, diba? He took, I think, applied physics. And after that, yeah, I mean, sorry, during that period, he was also involved in activism because his parents were also a social activist in a sense. So I guess you could see there his Saturn and Libra coming out somewhat. He knew growing up that parang he was, I guess, in a privileged position. He would see kind of like life was difficult when he would be commuting and stuff like that. And he recognized na, oh, may kaya sila. Ayun. So, yun yung napulot ko sa interview, I think. And so he also wanted to get, I guess, the full scope of a college experience. And part of it being in UP was being active in advocacy. And so one day, I think during that time, uh, it was EDSA too during that time. So his acquaintance with activism was parang people would be parang walang classes, they would walk out, diba, during those times. And so he was like, anong nangyayari? He didn't really, I mean, he knew vaguely, but then he told himself now, okay, he has nothing better to do. He walked by himself in EDSA and saw what's going on. And then I guess he got the sense na having readings and also being influenced by uh, Jose Rizal. He was also exposed to, I guess, the young revolutionaries like Rizal and um, like I think he had this quote in the interview where he was saying, let me pull that up. Part of life is about finding that purpose and applying yourself so that you know you are fulfilling your role in making the world a better place. I guess from seeing all the conflict, and in his interviews, I get the impression he's also not like not someone who's kind of like um hindi siya mayabang. He's very humble. Like when the news, his other fellow journalist was asking him like, so why did you go into journalism? He's like, well, I wanted a job. I needed to work, and I guess eventually he also finds naman fulfillment in it. He says na, well, I recognize that, parang he says in his own words that this job is important. Being able to deliver news affects people and lives, and um, that's kind of important, being able to tell these sorts of stories. So yun. And I guess the more trivial facts are in his love life now, he likes people who are down to earth, and interestingly with the Libra placement he wants someone very different from him daw. He doesn't want parang the same thing. And he said na like his stance on relationships were that parang we're complete already as people, so maybe he'd like to find someone daw na maybe he can support in terms of their dreams and aspirations, and the person probably do the same. And so ano pa ba? Yeah, I think when the host asks like, so if you have three wishes directly not involving you, what was his wish now? And one of them is I guess access to free education, because um everyone needs to be informed. And ano pa ba? Ayun. I guess that's what I can share so far. If something comes up along our chart reading, then I guess I can pull it up, but that's so far as I remember. So I guess with a sun in Libra, as I mentioned, he seemed very humble. He's not very showy, and there's that air quality of I didn't really choose my course. It's like I gravitated towards it. So ayun, he went, and I guess being in the scientific field is very intellectual, very air sign. Applied physics is such a hard course. So that could relate to his air placements, being involved in the sciences, very exacting with his Saturn there also in Libra, uh, near his sun, very conjunct his sun. Yeah, he's very, and I think like there was something striking in the interview where like the reporter asked, so like do you have any pet peeves, and he said, well, I don't like people who are inconsiderate, who like, call loudly in public places. Like it gives him the a very visceral reaction. So well, here we can see na like his moon can possibly be in Scorpio, although in AstroSeek it gives the range, and it seems to say that, yeah, I guess either way he's a Scorpio moon, and then he has Mars in Sagittarius, so maybe there's that element of really fighting for the truth, or wanting to go towards the truth, or um wanting to I guess wanting to, I guess, travel as well, because he mentioned he wanted to climb the mountain in Kilimanjaro. So yun, he's also, I guess, a very pleasant personality. Yun. Anyway, now I hand it to our fellow host. What can you say about his chart?
I just wanted to say, of course, the most obvious would be that he really looks very, very cute with all the
Mm-hmm.
Libra stelliums. We just have to say that he's very Venusian. Just put it right out there.
Yeah,
But anyways,
true,
outside
true.
of that, parang ano, I'm not, pag may mga Libra stellium, usually they're very Venusian. So,
Mhm.
to have all that Venus energy in his chart, siguro that's why he's so pleasant, and he's so, saka maganda yung sinabi mo kanina in regarding his interview, where he didn't want somebody like him, because Libras as an archetype, it's the scales, it likes to balance something out per se. So
Yeah.
for example, if we're the same, then it's a lot of imbalance. So Libras like ano, parang polarities in a way. If
Mm.
somebody is like this, then they'll be like that. Para may ganong component. So I
Oh,
think that's just very Libran of him to say. Mga ganon. So,
interesting.
mm.
Yeah.
Parang they don't feel
Um,
threatened because Libra is all about the other. It's not necessarily Aries, like, see what I mean, this is what I think. Libras, they're all
mm-mm.
like, I can be right, you can be right too. We don't have to be wrong both. I can be wrong. Parang ganon. Hindi sila yung parang
Yeah.
either or. It's like very, very harmonious in general. So that was something nice to hear about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
I guess
okay.
I remembered, I sorry, again, I remembered po na there was something that struck me when you mentioned, I guess they're not really like aggressive about their point of view. They like to keep open. And he said that in an interview that the quality he wanted to retain in his life for the rest of his life was being able to be open. Like even if he had these particular ideas or philosophies, like until he was old, like Saturn there, he wanted to be open and he wanted to be receptive to other people's point of views, because he
Mm.
recognized that even if maybe he knew something, he was an expert at something, there's still something out there that he didn't know. I appreciated that. Like I saw that it seemed very
Mm-mm.
Libra of him to say that with Saturn there, like until he was old. So
Oo nga.
yeah,
Oo nga,
yun.
no? Right, right.
All right. Yun po. Sir, Rusty, you were saying pala.
Okay. Yeah, I would emphasize also itong moon in Scorpio, which is empowered na by Jupiter also in Scorpio. This is
Yeah.
similar in effect, no, doon sa Pluto and Mercury ni Maria Ressa, and
Mm.
Pluto and Mars, no, ni Mike Enriquez, no. So may element ng digging, and then parang not being satisfied, no, with what is at the surface, no? So they feel that they really have to dig deeper into the say the truth, the facts, no, of whatever they are studying or discussing, no. And also we find this trait, no, sa mga heroes, no? This moon in Scorpio. Jose Rizal has this configuration, same thing with Ninoy Aquino, no? So this parang somehow, no, they based on these two examples, no, Rizal and Ninoy Aquino, they somehow believe in fate, no? And as I think Alteo also mentioned, no, na may ganong element, no, doon sa mindset, no, ni Atom, no, na parang he was sort of fated, no, to be in that industry, no, not something else, no. Which again similar din, no, doon sa nangyari kay Mike Enriquez, no. So he was sort of fated, no, to be a journalist, no. But it's actually a different thing, no, in the case of Maria Ressa. Kasi kay Maria Ressa naman, yung element of choosing is very important, no? Parang she was a conscious co-creator of her life, no? Parang every step of the way, every major turning points in her life, except nung 10 years old siya na dinala siya sa US, no? She had no choice, no, doon, no? Pero yung mga important decisions niya sa buhay, parang the choice, no? The choices, no, are always laid out, no, before her, and then she has to make the choice, no. So yun sa that's another that's because of some other things, pero as I'm emphasizing, no, with those moon in Scorpio, I think, no, yung acceptance, no, of fate, no, is somewhat, no, very important, no, to them. So yeah, no. Okay, so kasi connected doon sa fate is life purpose, no? So ano ba yung life purpose, no? So in the case of Rizal, no, it's like freeing the slaves or freeing the Filipinos who were enslaved, no? Okay, in the case of Benigno Aquino, it's something similar, no? Freeing the Filipinos from martial law, no? Ngayon, of course, no, I'm not saying na ganun din ang mangyayari kay Atom, no? Pero may element ng I have to do this, no, because because it's there, no, it's
Yes.
part of what he needs to work on or what he needs to fight for, no. So again, as a journalist, with this emphasis on Libra, which is the sign associated with justice, and Mercury is the planet nga of finding, presenting the truth, no. So hindi nagkakalayo, no, na similar yung mga life patterns ng journalists and heroes.
Siguro ano din, maganda rin idagdag that because Moon and Scorpio, they have tolerance to things that are quite difficult. Para may ganong component and may tendency na okay sila sa hindi masyado, parang yung sitwasyon na a lot of people might be scared of already. The opposite is Moon and Taurus, which is comfort and yung mga comfort zones, and it's all about, indulgence. Pagdating sa Moon and Scorpio, may tendency na very, very far from that element. So I think siguro yung heroes, may tendency sila to be able to have tolerance again to things na give up na yung iba. Pero yung staying power, may tendency na they hold on a little bit longer to actually affect change perhaps. Tsaka fix din kasi. So if they really want to put something, a task on hand, they really make sure they follow through with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Because it's also very rigorous being a reporter. It's you stay up late, you go outside, you have field work, and you encounter a lot of people and difficult experiences in terms of reporting, different lives that probably are parang they go through a lot of hardship yun. So I guess his moon witnesses all that, and this Jupiter maybe reports on that, sheds light on that, gives some sort of like a uncovering in a Scorpio way,
Mm-mm.
the
Tsaka
intense experience. Ay, sorry, yeah.
Go. Tsaka I
Uh,
would just wanted to add also na he liked I think he shifted from ABS to GMA. I'm not sure if I remember this correctly, but I was thinking he wanted to do documentaries or he wanted to do short films, something of the sort instead of just being in front of like being parang ano tawag doon, yung news anchor per se. So
yes.
something a little bit more exploratory, and then that would probably be the Sagittarius Mars trining all the placements here. So baka
Right.
may
And
sense of wanting some sort of adventure instead of locked in a studio.
May nagbanggit na ba sa Saturn conjunction with the Sun?
yes
Sobrang
po.
dikit, ano? Almost Kazimi, ang dikit-dikit.
Yeah.
This is similar doon sa kay Mike Enriquez, no? Which we
Mm-mm.
described earlier as somebody who's very
Cuisine.
serious, no? Tackling very important issues, no? In society, no? Because Libra is also a social sign, you know? So very much concerned about the state, no? Of the people in general, especially those who are suffering, no? Because that's the realm of Saturn, no? So yeah, no? Very. Tapos nandun pa yung Pluto, no? So yeah, no? There's that
Intensification talaga.
Yeah.
intensification, no?
Saka sobrang
Yes.
lapit, oh. Sobrang tight conjunction ng lahat.
Oo.
Oh, nga. And his mother, his father, right, played a very crucial role in terms of uh, his activism, and because parang they were active during the martial law period, I guess you could say that his son, the representation of his father, and Venus, the representation of maybe a woman in his life, um, uh, parang contributed to his sense of justice in a way. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Well said.
Sige, so let's
Okay.
summarize. Oo. So what
Right.
have we uncovered, no? What have we did you see any pattern, regarding the lives or the planets, no, of or the signs, no, of journalists, no, in general, no? So nagja-jibe ba, no?
Yeah. There's that dignified Saturn. And there's aspects to Pluto in a sense, I would say.
Tsaka since
Also.
magkalapit lang din Virgo and Libra, usually yung combination na yan madalas makita because of course, yung iba hindi pa lumilipat, yung iba nauna. But both these combinations, it seems like a good mix or a good ingredients for somebody who does good journalism also.
Wow.
Okay, no? So
Okay.
so again, anong purpose, anong purpose, and why are we sort of honoring them, through this episode, no? The reason is because we are in a period of air, and the problem with the period of air is actually misinformation, or itong yung parang wala ng truth, no, wala ng basihan, so this are the things, no, that these journalists, no, are fighting for, no, and it is reflected, no, in the planetary placements, no, emphasizing the planet of Mercury. Mercury is the planet of gathering information and sharing information, and when it comes to life purpose, Mercury has something to do with finding and sharing the truth, no. While Saturn naman, which is very much emphasized, no, also in the chart of these three journalists, no, Saturn is about law, no, or as we discussed last episode, no, Saturn is about parang as described, no, by Claire, no, ito yung pag-handle, no, daw ng law, no. Pero anyway, it's in Saturn as the planet of structure. It's about maintaining, no, this let's say this fair system or justice system that they believe in, no? Or in the case of let's say may mga bullies nga, no, people in power who wants to do away, no, with for example, no, these democratic principles emphasized by Libra, by Aquarius, no, etc., no. We see them also as willing fighters, no, because of the Scorpio or Mars or even Pluto, no, influence, no, in their charts, no. So to be a journalist involves not just knowing, but also kailangan ng conviction, no, as well as willingness to fight, no, for what you believe in, and these are the traits, no, that we need, no, during this period, no. So actually a few years a few episodes ago, no, we've discussed the yung difference, no, between the age of Aquarius, no, and the period of Aquarius, no. So I would like to emphasize it again, no. Yung age of Aquarius, it's somewhat a version, no, or something very idealistic, no, and as we have experienced, no, at the beginning of this era of Aquarius, it's far from being the period of universal brotherhood, no, or whatever. Actually sa teachings, no, ni Robert Soler, one of the leading astrologers, no, in the revival of the older system of astrology, specifically medieval astrology, yung dala ni Robert Soler, no. Ang he emphasized, no, that if we look at the chart, no, of let's say the symbology, no, yung Aquarius, if we put Aquarius in the first house, no, the 10th house is actually Scorpio, no. So ang kalaban ng age na to, ng period na to, is manipulation, power, governments, no, in general, because they hold, no, they yield power, no, in relation to technology. Ayun, no? So technology as ito nga, ano, so as Maria Ressa mentioned, no, in her book, no, this problem, no, is actually symbolized, no, by the greedy, no, tech corporations, no, such as Facebook, no. So ito yung sinabi ni Zoller, no, na Robert Zoller, na parang tyranny, no, of through technology, no. So that is the reason why we need journalists, no, like these three, no, na who will fight, no, for the truth, no, when the need arises.
Tama.
Very nice. Well said. Okay.
Okay.
Sakto, na-cover naman natin lahat, ano?
Oo.
Sakto.
I guess notable, dagdag na lang na the nodes seem to be active in his chart as well, since he's a Libra. He recently put out a statement against Kiboloy, I think, on Twitter. He
Interesting.
filed a civil complaint of damages against on former Undersecretary Lorraine Godoy Partosa and Jeffrey Celis. Ayun, kasi parang inaccuse daw siya and made personal attacks to him and his family during a program in SMNI and various social media platforms. So that happened around September 11, I think, just for verity. And I think Mercury is still in Virgo that time. I don't know if Mercury was direct already, but it seems so notable that like he was straightening out something during that time, really calling it out in a way. So yun, just wanted to add that astrological tidbit.
Okay, Marco, would you like to summarize kung ano yung natutunan natin for tonight?
Okay, to point out is yung mga domiciles and exaltations, it really affects the overall personality of the person being read. In this case, the journalists. And then secondly, yung point out na lang po yung ating yung North Node. That is also an indicator of the destiny of the natal chart. So given that the journalists that we featured today this night, na meron sila mga planets in Mercury and in the planets in Libra, I think it is safe to say that yung mga planets na yun ang nagbigay sa kanila ng parang yung gravity towards their career, which is journalism.
Okay, thank you, no. Thank you, Marco. Although I think, no, parang this is the second time I've parang hindi naman request, no, pero na-encounter ko itong the North Node, no, or the nodes, no, through our platform, no. So anyway, I think we should be having an episode on the North Node, no. Siguro in the coming months, no. Okay.
Exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sige. And next week, our topic is, ito na ba yung adulting? Next week?
Is it Libra po yung different
Yeah.
expressions of Libra?
Okay. Sige.
Yan po ba?
You can check. So anyway, sige. Next week, either, I think adulting itong susunod, no? Yes, adulting. Saturn in Libra, or Saturn return Kasi Saturn is exalted in Libra. So somehow, no, yung issues ng adulting or Saturn influence transits, no, is very much, no, in line, no, with Libra, no, being the sign of exaltation of Saturn. Sige.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yun.
Okay.
Sige. Luan?
Yeah.
Good. So thank you everyone for watching us. Hopefully we picked something up, and I'm not sure kung may audio na tayo, but mag-aayos naman yan sa ano, no? Dun sa recording, sa post-prod. Okay. So thank you everybody, and see you next Wednesday here on
Here.
TalaToks.
TalaToks.
Astrology
Astrology
beyond.
beyond
G
memes.
beyond memes.
night, everyone.
Okay, good
Bye
night.
po.